My people, what is happening in Quara right now is something that has shaken both the communities and the whole country. Reports are moving around that local hunters, the same traditional men who know the bush, the streams, the narrow paths, went head-to-head with suspected Fulani militias, the same armed men that have been disturbing villages, and this time the hunters came out strong. Some even say they used Juju, traditional powers, to capture scores of them alive. Whether you believe that or not, the gist is hot, and we need to break it down together. Before I move deeper, if you are listening to me right now, please like this video and subscribe so you won't miss updates when we bring you fresh news from Nigeria. Now, let us take it slowly. For some weeks now, Kwara State, especially Ifelodun local government and some other nearby places, has been facing serious attacks. Bandits have been coming in, kidnapping villagers, raiding homes, even attacking police posts. People have died, families have been displaced, and many have been living in fear. The police and the army have tried to push back with operations, but the truth is, the bush is wide, the terrain is tough, and criminals know how to hide. So the local hunters stepped in. These are men who have lived on this land all their lives, who can read footprints in the soil, who know when a branch is broken if someone passed there. They decided enough is enough, and they joined forces with the community to defend their people. Now, this is where the story takes another turn. Reports say the hunters went into the forest side by side with vigilante groups and confronted these armed men. Some of the hunters claimed they prepared themselves with charms and incantations, believing they would not be harmed by bullets. Videos that are now viral show villagers shouting that Juju was used, that it gave the hunters boldness, and that the bandits could not resist. Some clips even show captured men, tied and surrounded, while the community cheers. I want you to pause and think. Even if you don't believe in charms, belief itself can give courage. The hunters believed, they stood firm, and that confidence alone can make a difference. And please don't forget, if you are enjoying this gist, click like and subscribe now, so you can always stay with us. But let's be clear, it is not only Juju talk. Official security reports also confirmed that military operations were carried out in these same areas. They said dozens of suspects were neutralized, that is, either killed in firefights or arrested during raids on hideouts. Victims were rescued, and suspected informants were also picked up in the process. So, while social media pushes the Juju story, official voices are talking about coordinated raids and joint work between soldiers, police, and vigilantes. Both sides of the story show us something important. The criminals are being challenged, and communities are no longer as helpless as before. Now let us talk about who these groups really are. The word you hear often is Fulani Militias, but here we must be careful. The Fulani people are large ethnic groups spread across Nigeria and West Africa, and the majority are peaceful, law-abiding citizens. The problem is with specific criminal gangs, often called bandits, who may include Fulani individuals but are not the same as the whole ethnic group. It is very risky to blame an entire tribe for the actions of a few. When we speak, we must use the word suspected bandits or suspected armed men, because until official investigations are finished, that is the correct language. Still, it is true that some locals describe them as Fulani militias, and that is why emotions run high. My people, if you are following me, please don't forget to like this video and subscribe, because your support helps us keep telling you this story straight. So what happened in Quara is both dramatic and complicated. On one hand, hunters and vigilantes stood up. Some saying Juju gave them courage, some saying they simply know the land better than the criminals. On the other hand, the police and army came in with operations confirming raids, arrests, and neutralizations. But here is where we must pause and reflect. When communities take up arms, there are dangers. Hunters are not trained police. If they capture suspects, what happens next? Do they hand them over to the authorities? Do they risk making mistakes? Sometimes in the heat of fear, innocent people can be accused. That is why, as much as we celebrate bravery, we must also insist on law and order. If suspects are captured, they must be handed to the police for proper trial. And there's something deeper here too. People believe in Juju for many reasons. Sometimes it is spiritual, sometimes it is psychological, sometimes it is cultural identity. But in situations like this, it shows us how desperate communities feel. When the state cannot protect them, they turn to their traditions. And whether or not the powers are real, the courage it gives can change the outcome. That is why these stories spread fast, because they carry meaning, not just facts. Now, one thing we need to remember is that Kwara is not the only state facing these kinds of troubles. All across the north central and northwest zones, you hear of villages being attacked, highways blocked by kidnappers, families paying ransom, and people living in fear. What makes the Quara case special is how local hunters stood up and turned the story around. The idea of Juju in the battle makes the gist sweeter and more dramatic. But what matters most is that the community did not sit down and watch. They came together, they joined their knowledge of the land with the courage of their hearts, and they said, enough is enough. My brothers and sisters watching, please like this video and subscribe, because these updates will keep coming and you don't want to miss any of them. When you look at the timeline of what happened, you will see a clear pattern. First, the bandits entered towns like Babanla in Ifelodun local government. They attacked police posts, they kidnapped people, and sadly, some lives were lost. That incident pushed the police and the Department of State Services to go to the area for assessment. Then, shortly after, the army stepped in with joint raids. The report said they stormed bush hideouts, clashed with armed men, and neutralized many. Some victims were freed. Around the same time, the local hunters organized themselves, prepared spiritually with their charms, and went into the forest. That is when the viral videos started spreading, showing suspects in ropes, villagers cheering, and people saying Juju worked. This mixture of official military action and local hunter involvement is what makes the story so rich and why everybody is talking about it now. Let's think about what it means when we say Juju. Some people laugh at it, some believe in it fully, but in reality, it is more than just superstition. Juju here represents confidence. It represents a cultural armor that makes hunters brave enough to face men with AK-47s. Imagine if you believe that no bullet can touch you. You will walk into danger with boldness. That is the mindset that can turn ordinary farmers into community defenders. Even if the power is only in the minds, the effect is real. And when criminals see people coming at them with such confidence, they can panic, they can scatter, and they can even surrender. So whether you believe Juju is real or not, you cannot deny the effect belief itself has on human action. My people, if you are still watching, don't forget to click like and subscribe now, because these insights are for you. But there's another side we need to talk about. When hunters or vigilantes capture suspects, what happens next? If they don't hand them over properly, justice might not be served. There is a danger of jungle justice, of wrongly accusing someone, or of killing suspects without trial. That is why it is important that whenever these hunters succeed, they work hand in hand with the police. Because if there is no law, then the line between protector and criminal becomes thin. We don't want vigilante groups turning into another problem tomorrow. That is why I'm telling you, as much as we celebrate them, as much as we clap for their courage, we must also ask government to create clear systems where communities can support security without breaking the law. And that brings us to the bigger picture. Why is it that our people must depend on hunters and charms to defend themselves? Why should mothers and fathers be sleeping in fear every night? It is because the security structure is stretched thin. Police are too few, soldiers cannot cover every forest, and many villages are left alone. Until the government invests more in community policing, in equipping forest guards, in creating jobs for young men, this cycle will not end. Bandits will keep trying, hunters will keep responding, and communities will keep living on the edge.